Good morning from our city, CMC, Coalition for Maternal Citizen Empowerment NGO. I'm an activist. Yes, I'm a member. Oh, I said I'm Muru for region. I work with PMC. Thank you.
Daniel,
Hello,
I
Daniel.
think we lost him a bit there. Used ourselves talking about our names and where we come from. What I'm also interested in is to get to know what you do in your various countries, right? If you are a young person in Zambia, in Zambia, what work do you do? Are you an activist? Are you an advocate or whatever it is that you do? Please share with us while we wait for the rest of the team to join. So maybe we can start with Christopher Silbanda, if I get the name right. Introduce yourself and tell us who you are, where you come from, and what you do in your country.
As for me,
Mm-hmm.
in Zambia, the most of the things which we do is we do advocate. I am an activist,
Correct.
socio-economic development planner for the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection,
Mm-hmm.
where we promote the the social and economic justice for the Zambian people in all areas. So that I'm an activist of
That's right.
the debt which the countries are contracting. Vulnerable people and the community want their livelihood to be uplifted than now. So we want at least those with authorities to make deliberate policies which will benefit the Zambian people.
Right. Right.
I think I'll
Great.
end there for now.
Sure. Thank you very much for sharing.
All right.
I'm personally very. I actually really like the East African and the South African people because of the way they talk. You know, I like your accent, and yeah, it's really interesting and really beautiful to listen to someone from. I can see that we have more people joining in. So, Makosi, if I'm getting the name right, uh, Makosi Indebile, right? And if I'm crucifying your name, please pardon me. I'm not very familiar with these things. Can you introduce yourself to us and tell us who you are, where you come from, what you do?
Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
I am Marco. Hello.
Yeah, sure. We can hear you.
From Zimbabwe. And also with life skills.
Okay.
One of the programs that I'm interested in is good. Nice to meet you.
Great. Thank you very much, Makosi. And you are welcome to this platform. We hope to learn a lot from you and what you do in your country, you know, sharing with us some of your experiences, some of your expertise, and how you go about climate justice in your country. Sure. Imran Hussain. Imran, please unmute yourself and kindly tell us your name, where you come from, and what you do in your country. Imran Hussain, if you can hear me, we would like to know who you are. So please, sure. Introduce yourself to us. Tell us your name, where you come from, and what you do in your country.
Hassan, I am from Bangladesh. I am from Bangladesh. Very interesting this session. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Imran. Thomas Zabuga. You're welcome. Kindly introduce yourself to us. Tell us your name, where you come from, and what you do. Thomas Zabuga. Okay. Yeah, hi. We can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. So, hello, Abuja from Ghana. Ghana, Upper East. I'm a youth activist and advocate. I've got an NGO that is into development, especially youth inclusion and youth rights. I think I would like to do more from here, all together champion.
Okay, Thomas, I think there's a problem with your internet connection. If you could reposition yourself and maybe back later.
Hello, this is Thomas.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're expecting a lot more people to join, roughly about 30 people. But what we'll do is that we can actually start the whole workshop with hope that they join us later because it's 12 minutes past the time that we were supposed to start. And I just first of all want to say a very big welcome to all of you and thank you for making time out of your busy schedules to be part of us in this experience. We will be dealing with a lot within these 3 days that we are going to be together, and we hope that with your maximum cooperation and with your knowledge and expertise that you all have, we can help each other to build a stronger resilience against climate change. And we are hoping to also introduce to you another interesting and yet effective way of doing activism and advocacy, which is the artistic form of activism. And in that too, we'll also leverage on your support in sharing your experiences and sharing your expertise in that arena. Very much happy, and I mentioned this before, I'm very happy to be part of this particular workshop, and I hope that we also have the same feeling about, or the same the cabarets. What's happening? Great, great. Hi, welcome Momodiva. Glad to have you. You're at the right time. We are doing some bit of introduction.
All right, thanks.
Yes, if you can kindly introduce yourself to us, tell us who you are, where you come from, and what you do.
All right, Momo. Can you hear me now?
Sure, we can hear you.
Momo Diva from Zambia, a journalist and also an artist.
Wow.
To be part of this activism workshop because I've not really had such kind of pages platform to do my artistic work. Part of this artistic activism workshop so that I can also include that to the kind of music I do and to give something.
very much, Momo. You are highly welcome, and we are happy to have you with us here today, and hopefully for the rest of the days that we're going to be together. Certainly, we are going to be dealing a lot with the artistic activism and how to use the creative talents that we all have to push to fight for a social change in a way. Face, if you don't mind, so that we know who you are and not just maybe your name, but also your face.
Shortly, I'll be putting my video on.
Sorry?
I'll be putting my video on shortly.
Sure. Great. Thank you very much. All right. So as we already saw in the email that Daniel sent to us, we have a breakdown of how this workshop is going to go. And today we are going to be looking at, especially for this morning, we are going to be discussing the human rights-based approach to development. And this is something that we thought it wise to also share with our network and share with you guys to see how you can buy into the idea of human rights to champion the change that we want, and also to fight the injustice and inequalities that we have in society today. To also be dealing more with climate justice, climate change, and things we need to know about climate change and climate justice. I'm going to kickstart already with the session on with the session on human rights-based approach. Playing right now with you, and let me know if you can see my screen and if it's much more visible for you. Can you see my screen maybe?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just would like to position this. Great. We are going to be discussing HRBA and campaigning. HRBA stands for Human Rights-Based Approach. Discuss this, we will be looking at the human rights-based approach from the lens of ActionAid Ghana and ActionAid Global, what they do in terms of their approach to development, to understand what the human rights-based approach is and how it's different from the other forms of development or the other models that other organizations also use. So yeah, like I said, the HRBA stands for Human Rights-Based Approach. And for us to understand this whole concept is about, we need to understand what human rights are. The acronym HRBA, what it explains is self-explanatory, based approach to development, basically looking at every development issue as rights as a product of human rights. So the first question I want to pose to you all is, what do you understand by human rights? And anyone can answer this. Kindly just unmute yourself and tell us what you think human rights are, or you could also just write it in the chat box or the chat section, and we'll have someone review that for us. Anyone? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. To try. Great. Thank you very much, Daniel, for really clarifying that. I think my question was not also very clear with you. I apologize for that. We say it again, or we ask the question again to all of you. Understand by human rights, or what does human rights mean to you as an individual? That is the question.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Foster Muti.
Yes, thank you so much, Mohammed. To me, how I understand human rights, it's the freedom, or the freedom that a woman has or a male person has, that you are free to have anything that you have without being infringed. I think that's what I understand from my friend.
Sure. Thank you very much for sharing, Foster Muti. Yeah, this one.
Hello. 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 Can you hear me? Human rights basically are the fundamental freedoms and privileges, every individual is entitled to. But let me be quick to add that they come with responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. We heard you well. Thank you very much for sharing this one. Can we have one more?
All right, I have something.
Sure.
So I think human rights are privileges that make human beings equal despite social status. So it makes them equal in that way that each and every of them should have those privileges just by virtue of them being human.
That's right. Thank you. And Momo, you just mentioned a word that I find very interesting, and I think that it's important that we discuss. And the word is privileges. So what do you think about that? Are human rights privileges that we should enjoy? What do you all think about that?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Anyone? You could explain further. Maybe.
I didn't hear the question.
Thinking about the word privileges and, looking at human rights and looking at the word privileges, that human rights are privileges that we are supposed to enjoy. Yes, Thomas Abuga, do you want to say something? Thomas, if you could reposition yourself very well for us. I think your internet connectivity is not very stable and we cannot hear what you're saying. But yeah, what do we all think about the word privileges and human rights? Do they, or are human rights actually privileges that we should enjoy? I have my own thoughts concerning that, and I'm interested in also hearing what you also think about that.
I would like to say
Uh-huh.
because a privilege is given to you and it can be taken away from you. But human rights, no one should take them away from you.
Exactly.
So a privilege is, I have a privilege to be on the platform today.
Mm-hmm.
I could either attend this or not attend the workshop. But the right is something that you can't take away from you, whether on this platform or outside this
Of course, definitely. And that is just what I wanted to also probe more and maybe clarify for some people. I think personally, I prefer to use the word entitlement rather than privileges because I feel like privileges at any point in time could be taken away from you. But something that you are entitled to means that it cannot be taken away from you. And that is what the human rights are. They are like entitlements that we are supposed to receive due to the fact that we are human beings and we are protected under the laws and constitutions of the various countries that we come from. Now, there's this video that I have that I want to share with you, and it's a video discussing human rights and also looking at the historical background on human rights. It's actually a very long video, and I invite you to the very end as we'll be discussing about the video after it is done playing. So I'm going to share the video now. Please let me know if you are able to see it. Can you see the video? How about now?
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
see.
all right. You can see.
Okay. Oh. Is the sound of the video okay for you?
No, please. Not.
You can see the video? Okay, let me try again. Okay. All right, so can we see the video and can we hear the sound in the video?
The sound is bad.
Sorry?
I can't hear the sound.
But I didn't get that. If you could speak up a little bit.
Oh, I am saying I can see the video, but I can't hear the sound. I can't hear.
You can. Okay. Wow. How about now? Sorry. Is it still the same, or can we hear the audio now?
It's still breaking.
There is no audio.
There's no audio. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. All right. So I actually got this from YouTube, and what I will do is that I'm going to share with you a link to the video on YouTube, and I invite you to go watch that video. It's a little bit of a background around how the whole concept of the human rights came to being, and what our role is to play within that whole construct of human rights. Getting the link for you. All right, so I just pasted a link in the comment section. So yes, I invite you to go check it out at your own convenience time, because it will explain to you what human rights are and how they all came to being and what our role is to play in the whole idea of human rights. So we are going to move forward with the presentation that we were going through. I think Google Meets may still need to do some updates with regards to how their platform is being used, because I don't understand how made a video with the audio at the same time during the presentation. This actually works when it comes to other platforms like Zoom and Skype. This is by the way. So we move on, and we were discussing human rights before I decided to play the video, and some of us gave definition for what human rights are. And here is a little something that I also have from this presentation. Can we see the presentation actually?
No.
Wow. Oh. Can you see the presentation now, please?
Yes.
Here we have that human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, whatever our nationality, place, sex, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other social status. We are all equally entitled to our human rights without discrimination. And I think I earlier on mentioned about the entitlement bit of it, as opposed to it being something that's like maybe a privilege, So human rights are inherent to all human beings. That means that human beings, so right from birth till you die, you have those rights, and you are supposed to enjoy those rights until you are no more or until you are dead. Not everybody enjoys these rights, and I think we can attest to that fact, right? Right? I'm looking for feedback here. Yes,
Yes.
of course.
Yes.
So can we maybe describe some of the rights that certain people don't enjoy, especially the ones that are maybe specific to where we live or where we come from? It could be your country or community. It's that people don't enjoy, but they are supposed to enjoy. Can you share with us? Do I have to take that again? Right to life. Not everybody enjoy these rights, right?
Not everybody.
Yes, so I would like to know from where we all come from, in our countries or in the communities that we live in, what are some of the rights that people are supposed to enjoy, but unfortunately they don't have access to those rights? We could just, as examples, before we move on.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Right to health.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, Pastor Muti. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to share the rights that somebody needs to enjoy. I can say on the
And the right to
because I'm a
free education.
we find many women are discriminated and they don't enjoy that right, despite their health, despite their status, and so forth. And also the right to happiness. You find a lot of people don't have that right. We are supposed to be happy. We are supposed to, but many of them, they are being infringed that right. I heard somebody mention about the right to life. Another thing which is very important, we all need life, and for us to have the life, there are certain things that we need to benefit. Yeah, just to mention a few, maybe there are others who want to contribute.
Thank you very much for. Yeah, sure. Go on, Mo.
To be a privilege of a few people. I think the freedom of opinion or expression is like status or to the educated people. Most of the vulnerable people are not really even, because it's like they don't really count at all.
That's true. That's true. Very true. Great. Thank you for sharing. So now back to our presentation. Tell me what you can see in the presentation right now. I just want to be sure that we are all looking at the same screen at the moment. So you can tell me what you can see.
I can see some hands of different people with different colors.
So all these things we have mentioned, if we look at them, they all contribute to, or they are all sort of like building blocks for the human rights. You know, we have freedom, we have peace, and there is hope for us in everyone or every individual And it also ensures that the rule of law actually works and societies will become more prosperous, or there'll be prosperity in society, and there'll also be justice for everyone in the world. Realize again that this particular presentation what I'm seeing sometimes is different from what you see. And again, I think it's another fault of the maybe. I'm going to share again, and we can actually see the slides that I was looking at before I asked the question. Okay. So what can we see now? Okay.
History development.
Great. So we talked about the human rights-based approach, and for us to better understand what it means, we are going to take a look at the history of development in ActionAid. And like I mentioned before, ActionAid is already using this particular approach to development. So with all their programming, they try to look at it from the human rights. So when ActionAid started in the 1980s, it was a needs-based that they were using to development, you know. So they were giving the hungry a fish to eat. So for instance, if ActionAid came to your community and they realized that your community was lacking some particular basic needs, they would provide those needs for you. If it's that your community was lacking food security, they would provide food for your community. To water, they would build boreholes, construct dams, and maybe install pipelines for you to enjoy the water that you need. And this was in the 1980s. They were using the needs-based approach. It is to teach the hungry how to catch their own fish. So what they were doing now is they were empowering to be able to work for their very own needs. The empowerment approach in the 1990s. An example is also that if ActionAid came to your community and maybe food security is an issue, what they would do is that they would teach the people of the community how to, how to farm, how to rear animals, and also provide them with certain things that they need in order to succeed in the farming industry so that they can have the food that they need. And if maybe they come to your community and you don't have access to maybe healthcare services, what they would do is that they would teach some members of the community how to provide basic healthcare needs to members of the community. And this was in the 1990s. They were empowering the people of the community to be able to work for their own needs, right? Now, they are using the human rights-based approach, which means that they are focused more on getting the rights of the people. So now, if ActionAid comes to your community and they identify an issue, what they do is that they empower you to demand your rights from the duty bearers. Because if you look at the whole, if you look at the world today and all the issues that we have, we can actually link it to the fact that some human rights are not being provided for us. And so they empower the young people, the people of the community to be able to demand their rights from the duty bearers. So how ActionAid approached, development in communities, in countries, and in all the places that they are present right now. A way of explaining how, the step-by-step, how ActionAid has evolved over the years in terms of. So first, we saw that they used to give the people a fish. And the issue about that is that if you give them the fish, then they'll be able to eat for what? A day. And then the next day, they are going to be hungry. So then if you teach them how to fish, they can always fish and have food to eat until the water is contaminated or the shoreline is seized for development projects and all that. And then they go hungry again. How to think critically, to be politically conscious, then they can also, in a way, mobilize themselves and organize their colleagues to stand up for their rights and their interests. And by doing so, a sustainable way for them to always enjoy the rights or to always enjoy the things that are supposed to be there for them or things that are meant for them. We'll be looking at the empowerment and solidarity as some of the pillars of the human rights-based approach. So I want to pause here and ask if we have any questions concerning these two slides talking about the history of development in ActionAid, what human rights, or how it distincts what human rights-based approach is from the other, approach to development. If you have any question at this moment, you can just ask so that we answer them before we move forward. Or are we good to go?
On my part.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm saying I think on my part I'm good to go.
Great. Thank you very much. How about others? Are we good to go? Yeah. All right, great. So let's look at this these two pictures. See in those two pictures and what you can make out of it.
So in the first picture,
Uh-huh.
I'm seeing one guy talking to the big guy, and the big guy is more like irritated or isn't even paying attention. But the moment that he's joined by other people, the big guy is like, okay, there's something happening behind me. His attention has been captivated.
That's right. Any other?
For me,
Uh-huh.
I can interpret it in a way whereby if I want to see change, if I'm just doing it by myself, if I'm confronting maybe to the duty bearers, they won't give me much attention. Sometimes I can get myself in trouble. But the second picture, the way it narrates, it shows how good leaders, how activists should move together in solidarity, because if you are in numbers, it's easy the duty bearers give attention. But if you're alone, to give you attention.
Definitely. And of course, here we have the rights holders and also the duty bearers. The duty bearer being the person in power, the person in the political space, or the person who has a greater influence over a particular issue, right? All rightfully mentioned in the first picture, just one person talking to a duty bearer, and the duty bearer don't seem to actually care about what he is saying. Picture shows approaching one person and they seem to get the attention of the person. This tells us that there is a lot of power in numbers. So in whatever we are doing, it's important that we mobilize a formidable team or a larger team of people who can actually demand from the duty bearers. So in the next slide, it's telling us about the human rights-based approach, to development. Is in the form of a cycle or a cyclical, right? On the top there, the duty bearer. When we look below, we have the right holder. Is the duty of the duty bearer? Is the duty of the duty bearer? Yes, it is the duty of the duty bearer to fulfill their obligations to the right holders. Before, the duty bearers here are the people in power, the people that we have chosen to be our leaders, the people we have elected into of public offices. So their duty is to fulfill. Before they went into power, we contract or we had some form of interaction with them where they know what they are supposed to do at the end of the day. So it's the duty of them to what? Fulfill those duties or fulfill those obligations that strengthening the accountability of the duty bearers. So as activists and as advocates, our concentration is in the center part of this cycle where we strengthen the equality and inclusion forms of discrimination in the community. And what we also do is that we support people to demand their rights. So as activists, we need to support the rights holders or our colleague rights holders to demand their rights. And we can do this by empowering them, through knowledge, sharing with them some of the knowledge that we have or some of the exposure that we have, letting them know that these things are their human rights that they can actually demand and get from the duty bearers or the people in power. And it's also our responsibility to strengthen the accountability of the duty bearers by supporting the right holders to always demand their rights. And in this way, the duty bearers are forced to account to us, on some of the things that they had promised or some of the things that they are supposed to do for the right holders. I hope this is clear. If it's not clear enough, please let me know so that I can go over it again. Or if you have any specific question with regards to this cycle. Questions? Going once? Going twice? Are we good to go?
Yes, for the question.
Someone has a question?
On the things that we should post on the duty bearers. Is it the right or what other things apart from the right?
Could you take that again? I think the connection wasn't strong enough, so I didn't hear everything.
Okay, because looking at the cycle, are you getting me clearly?
Sure, I can get you now.
I was just looking at the cycle, which is clear enough to me. two involved. There's the duty bearer and
Right.
the right holder, which is me. I just want to understand the cycle. So you said the duty bearer more like sign a contract for it, which are these elected people. And you said if they are not fulfilling to their promises,
Mm-hmm.
we have to go back to them. So here, since we are looking at the human rights-based approach,
Right.
so is it the things that we need to account on them, or the things that accountability? Is it just the rights, or is it just the human rights? That's what you imply, or maybe you can highlight more so that I understand on accountability.
Sure. So I think earlier on we mentioned that when you look at all the issues of the world, one way or the other, we can relate it to one of the human rights that we have, you know. So when we talk about maybe lack of schools in communities, link that particular issue to the right to education, the right to quality education, right? If we are looking at maybe or the health issues of communities, we can link it to the right to health. And, I mean, you can just sit back and think about all the issues that our community face, and you can actually find one particular right that you can link it to. So if we are demanding for our rights, in a way we are strengthening the accountability to the duty bearers. Because all these things that they are supposed to do for us, or they promise to do for us, are in a way linked to the human rights that we are supposed to enjoy, you know. And the most common ones that we all know and I can think about right now is, you know, access to quality roads, access to hospitals, access to quality education, access to, you know, healthcare services in communities. You know, all these things are linked to human rights. If bearers are not providing it for us, we can actually use the human rights as a way of, you know, demanding accountability from them. You know, they promise to do these things, which are our rights, but they are not doing it. So we are here to demand for them. Clarifies it a bit for you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So can we move forward?
Yes, please.
So let's look at this very powerful quote from one of who walks this planet, the late Nelson Mandela. May his soul rest in peace. It's not an accident. Like slavery and apartheid, it is man-made and can be removed by the actions of human beings. Powerful quote. And the reason why I love it so much is that when you take away the first word, which is poverty, any issue in the world, there, in place of the poverty, you would see that the whole quote will still make sense. And I mean, this is just what we were talking about in the previous slide. And you put in there any issue that the society faces today, you will see that the whole quote still makes sense. I don't know if we also see it that way. I want feedback.
I didn't get the question, sorry.
Saying that when you look at this particular quote and you take away the first word, I hope we can all see the slide that I'm talking about right now.
Yes, I can see it myself.
Take away the first word, which is poverty,
Yes.
and we replace it with another word or another in the community. Let's say maybe for instance, is something that most communities. So when we put maybe lack of access to education here, then the whole quote is still going to make sense. If you replace lack of access to education with poverty, you would see that it will really lack of quality education is not an accident like slavery and apartheid. It is made and can be removed by the actions of human beings. And when we put, let's say, gender inequality there too, when we replace poverty with gender inequality, it will still read as gender inequality is not an accident, like slavery and apartheid. It is man-made and can be removed by the actions of men. I don't know if we get it like that too. So this shows us that all the issues that we face in the community can actually be removed by the actions of we the human beings. With we, the members of the community, working together with the duty bearers or the people in power. Let's take a look at the pillars of human rights based. So here we have empowerment, solidarity, and campaigning as the key main pillars for based approach to development. So let's take the first one, and this is going to be more like a discussion from you. What do you think about empowerment? What do you know about empowerment, or what comes to your mind when you hear the word empowerment? And anyone can answer this. Hello. Are you still with me?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about empowerment. Uh-huh. Mm. Mm-hmm. Enabling power, giving power to the people. Interesting. What do others think? What is empowerment?
Okay, so empowerment is giving power to someone to do something. Yeah, like in simple.
Yeah, simple as that. What's it?
Just in addition,
Uh-huh. All right. Great. Thank you all for those comments. And I think I heard someone's voice in the background before you spoke, Daniel. I don't know who that was, but if you could kindly come again.
okay, for me, it's just in addition to the comment in the chat box, which is so powerful, like enabling that if somebody cannot be strong,
as of maybe an active first month. Or something now.
Mm. Yeah, hi.
Okay,
Sorry, I
yes.
didn't get what you said. If you could repeat again.
I can come in now? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm just getting a lot of feedback from the other participants. Yes, it's just an addition to one of our participants said, like, it's more like you're somebody who didn't know anything. For example, if you go in the community, the people that are not empowered, any skill, they don't have any tools that they can use in order to advocate for something. But if you empower them, they will begin to have self-confidence themselves, because you've given them something that they relate to or something that and themselves.
Definitely. Great. Thank you very much for sharing. And yeah, coming from Alice Walker, and that's the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. And I really like the comments in the session and what you also mentioned, Foster, that power to the people is a way of empowering them. I like to say it's more like returning power to them than giving, because they already have the power, right? The people already have the power. They just think that they don't. And by giving them that power, by letting them know that they have this power, and they can actually demand some of the rights or the entitlements that they have in the community. And I want us to go deeper in the discussion and talk about what ways we can actually empower members of the community. Identify a certain issue in a community and you want them to be able to use the human rights based approach and you want to empower them. How do you do that? Do you empower members of the community to demand their rights from the members?
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Yes. So for me, how I can make the members of the community begin to demand power. First, I will identify the issue. I'll use my country, Zambia, being the elections in the next few months. Most of the people know certain information. So if I see that are lacking certain information, certain information or certain education that they don't know, so that as they approach those campaign or election time, they will be equipped with information. Even the duty bearers, when certain information, they will be able to criticize or to deny the false information that they are being given and the true information on the ground. So for me as an advocate, I'll first give them the knowledge they deserve so that they'll be able to identify different rights or different information. So.
That's right. Great. Thank you very much for sharing. Any other? Anyone else?
Maybe another addition?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I'll give an example of maybe in a rural setup. You go in a village,
Uh-huh.
know certain information. So sometimes it's also good to research on the things that they are lacking, even if maybe there's an issue at hand, maybe empowering them, maybe they might not appreciate, but it's also good to find out things that they want at that particular time. I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't want to, at the end of the day, get back to the community with a particular solution that the community doesn't really need. So yeah, it's very important to do that. And I think take it a little bit more forward and provide people with, aside the knowledge that they need or the awareness and all the information they need about the issue, we can also talk about certain skills that we can give to them, feel more confident or to make them more confident to be able to demand their human rights. I remember that I was in a particular workshop and someone shared their experience in a community where they, as a way of empowering them, they gave them enough information that they need, enough skills. Fortunately, they didn't have the confidence to actually do it, right? One part of the discussion that's usually not really out there or not really talked about, building the confidence of the community members to be able to their rights from the duty bearers or to be able to join the movement to fight for the things that you want them to fight for. It's important to just not stop at raising the awareness and conscientizing them about the issues, but also going deeper into giving them specific skill sets and giving them that confidence that they need to be able to demand their rights. So let's look at solidarity. What can we say about solidarity? Sure. Uh-huh. Definitely. And I actually like the last bit of it that talks about empowering the people to make their own decisions. And I think this is something that sometimes we skip, to the members of the community to be part of the whole process, Shared an experience that they had done research, communities, and actually empowered the people or like gave them the they need to be aware and also fight for their issues. But what they didn't do was to co-create the solutions with them. So rather they sort of like brought their own ideas, their own agendas to dump down on the members of the community, which didn't really go as planned. So it's important to always engage the community members at every level of the whole process, to create their own solutions, and letting them be part of the decision-making spaces within the project or the movement. So we are moving to solidarity. Solidarity. What is solidarity? What can we say about that? And again, anyone can just answer this.
I think solidarity is standing with somebody. For example, in a short term, I would say Solidarity is giving support to someone who is fighting for a certain cause.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Any other?
Just an addition. It's when you come into agreement and you unite at a specific cause that you want to fight for. So basically, it's just like coming together. Wow, we are united without any arguments or any confusion. You're just united to move for a particular goal.
Of course, definitely. Coming together, being united against a particular or for a particular cause, yes. Any other? Maybe we can take one more before we move on. Solidarity. Going twice. Okay. So yeah, we have another quote from Samora. Get the name right. It says that international solidarity is an act of charity between allies, different terrains towards the same objective. The objective is to assist in the development of humanity to the highest level possible. Now, this is a quote that talks about solidarity coming from Samora. And from all that we also said about solidarity, I think is very true. Solidarity has to do with we coming together to support a particular cause or to fight against something in the society that we don't want. Solidarity could also be, partnering with people, standing by people, supporting them even emotionally. Process. Now, to give some examples on solidarity, questions, and let's see if we can draw our own conclusions on that as far as solidarity is concerned. The issue of gender inequality, or yeah, we'll take the issue of gender inequality. Can we say specific, or can we say that it only happens in a particular community or a particular country? I don't know if you
can repeat the question.
Yeah, so I'm asking that if you look at the issue of gender inequality, can we say that it is country specific? Or can we say that gender inequality only happens in one country or one community? Or does it run across the whole world or in every community?
Okay, all right. Inequality is for me as an individual, runs in each and every community of the world, but we can just differentiate the scale at which is happening in some other communities. Maybe some other communities are scale, but in some other communities, at least it's maybe better. That's how I can relate to how I can mention further.
So if maybe people in Zambia are having a campaign or having a peaceful march to ensure that there is equality between the genders in their country, can members or can people in Ghana also join this particular movement as a way of solidarity?
Definitely they can, yes.
Definitely, yes. So solidarity also has to do with
the work. the work which ActionAid was learning, which everybody participated in the whole works of the world almost participated in the ActionAid operation area.
Yes, so we can say that solidarity has to do with also identifying and linking the struggles that we all have together. So as an activist in Ghana, I'm here and I see that some activists or advocates in Zambia are doing a peaceful march on gender inequality. This is something that also happens in Ghana. So as a way of showing my solidarity, I can be part of your movement by sharing on social media and also interacting with other people regards to the same topic that you are campaigning for in Zambia. And is more focused on the issue of climate change. And as we all know, climate change a place that it doesn't affect, right? It affects all of us in the world, all around the globe. It affects everybody, And the only difference is that with the way it impacts the global south is different from the way the impact is in the global north. The same issue at the same time. So it's important that we, stand in solidarity with each other and fight through these issues that we have in the community. And as we talked about earlier on, there is power in numbers. There is so much power in having a greater or a larger number of people fighting for a particular cause. So standing in solidarity with other people helps them to mobilize, the number of people that they need to actually campaign for. Any additions to that or any questions so far before we move on? So can we move on? Any feedback? Can we move on?
Sure.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So campaigning.
You can move on.
What is campaigning? Definitely. That can also be considered as solidarity. Sure. So moving on, campaigning. Campaign, or what do we mean by campaigning?
So I want to come in small. This is Kubra.
Sure.
So
Yeah, hi.
from my point of view, I think campaigning is in an organized and active way of doing something like towards a certain goal, like organizing a group actively to focus on one goal, whether being it's a political or social issue.
Definitely. That's very true. Any other? Anyone else? Can we have one more, please, before we move on? Okay. Going once. Going twice. So I think this is because Kubra did justice to the whole definition of what campaigning is. That's how come some of us don't want to say what we already have, because we feel like it would be a repetition. It's definitely just organizing and mobilizing people, particular goal, be it political or. So campaigning encompasses a lot, and I'm not sure if the inscriptions that's in the first is visible enough for you. It also includes advocacy, budget monitoring, and all these things. What I'm trying to establish is that when we look at campaigning, it forms part of like what we do in order to achieve a particular goal. So we can say that advocacy, which is more about raising awareness and talking about issue, making it aware to the people or the people in the community, is part of campaigning. So be coming out in our numbers, with our placards or with like a peaceful demonstration towards a particular issue, monitoring public policies and ensuring that some of these policies are being reviewed or are being implemented at any point in time, and ensuring that the budget allocations for certain aspects of development are much more, feasible or much more applicable to the needs that we have in the society. So campaigning encompasses all of these things that we do that contribute to development, and having all these things structured in a way that we can achieve them one after the other until the final, goal is being reached is what we consider as campaigning. This is actually the last slide that we have for this particular presentation. Have any question on the campaigning or anything that we have talked about this morning or since we started? Do we have any questions before we move on?
Okay, for me,
yes.
Campaigning.
Uh-huh.
And I believe campaigning comes with different effects. Because during your campaigning, we know that we are moving in solidarity, and maybe we are moving in solidarity for Ghana, and we are in Zambia. And certain campaigns, like I mentioned, like there are other like cause or effect, whatever. But like, does it have an attachment to security? In terms of maybe if you can be arrested, things like that, does it come with security? If you're advocating for something or you're moving in solidarity for something which is like maybe in another nation or another country.
This is a very important question that it has been debated for quite a while now within the spaces of advocacy and activism. And I think it's worth mentioning in this particular meeting too that security is very important when it comes to activism and campaigning and all that. Because we've seen in the news and in the past that some people have actually, lost their lives just fighting for a particular cause that, yeah. So yeah, it's important to always look at the security implications of what we do as part of our campaign plans. Before we even step out to do whatever, we need to assess the security implications. So we need to plan ahead towards some of the things that may happen that will pose as a security threat to us as individuals or to the whole movement or the whole project that we are doing. Sometimes when we are standing in solidarity with other people, we may not also have planned for. And so it's important to like I mentioned before, to already map out some of these things before you even step out there so that you can mitigate some of them to an extent. And also have like backup plans, So maybe when one of us gets arrested, what do we do? Do we have a strong legal backing for us to when it becomes a court case and all that? So it's important to assess all these things before we step out there to do anything. We cannot always plan for everything, and we cannot always have everything go on well as we have planned. But it's important to always also have a foresight about what may happen and in a way plan towards them so that this in a way can be mitigated. That gives an answer to you, or if someone also has like maybe an idea as to how this can be done, you can also share with us. But this is my thoughts on the issue of security and campaigning.
I appreciate it. Something that just crossed my mind because I see a lot of activists, like for instance in Zambia, like yesterday, very active young person who was supposed to stand for this year's election was arrested yesterday.
Wow.
Due to the offense he committed. Like he assaulted someone and he's been jailed for I think 6 months. I don't know, my fellow Zambian would help me. I think 6 months.
Wow.
In prison. So just imagine this was a powerful activist in Yang, supposed to stand for this year's general election. So this is something that just crossed my mind as young people as they are doing activism.
Wow. Yeah, so like I said, this is important for us to always have like some sort of plan towards these things and have like a code that we all work towards so that it can help mitigate some of these things that we see. Yeah, I heard someone's voice in the background. Someone wants to say something, maybe?
Yes, I wanted I agree with her comment on the young member of parliament. Should is one of the youngest in the Zambian parliament.
Wow.
The guy who has been detained based on they are saying that he assaulted the police. But to the contrary, the guy was to the contrary, the guy is the ruling party wanted him to stand on their ticket even before he won the seat. They still want him to resign so that he dismissed from the opposition and join the ruling, so that he stand on the ruling party ticket for the same seat which is occupying under opposition. So the charges which is being given, they are trumped up charges. They are fake charges. They are saying he assaulted two police officers, but those are fake charges.
Wow.
But in Zambia, Zambia is known for peace. It's one of the peaceful countries. But the recent happenings, the way with the coming in of this political party, things have been changing. We've been expressing yourself, or maybe for to have a different voice from the ruling party and enemy of the state. I think people need to realize so that this can be stopped, so that Zambia can continue one of the beacon of peace or beacon of democracy.
Right.
Yeah, because of the duty they allows they could uphold human rights and whatever. Anyway, I'll end there now. I'm sure another opportunity will come where I can speak more on that.
Definitely. I do hope so that we'll have chance for that. And thank you for sharing that experience with us. And I think that's the about Africa. Most of our issues are quite relatable to other parts of the continent, and I feel what's happening in Zambia is in a way something that happens in Ghana here, just that in perhaps a different form. That yeah, we link some of these struggles so that we can have a united front to fight against some of these issues. At this juncture, I would like us to take a short break because we have been looking into our screens for far too long. Yeah, we'll need a break at this moment. So you can feel free to leave the meeting and be back in exactly 5 minutes. So the time right now in Ghana here is 11:06 a.m. I don't know what the time is in Zambia and the rest of the countries, but just take 5 minutes and let's get back here to continue with the rest of the discussion. Thank you very much for your participation so far, and see you in 5 minutes.
It's 13:06, which is 1 p.m. 06.
Wow.
Yes.
So you're 2 hours ahead of us. Wow.
Lunchtime for us.
So you guys can go have like a 5 minutes lunch.
All right, thank you.
All right, see you in 5 minutes. Daniel. Charlie, what's okay?
What? Let's act like it. Shout out to Greta Thunberg. Yay! We, the young people of Africa, we have a message for you. Be the change people, demand climate justice. Now.
It's time to stand as one to save our planet. Let's join hands to combat climate change today. The future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. The stand belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have.
Let's act like it. Shout out to Greta Thunberg. Yay! We, the young people of Africa, we have a message for you. Be the change people, demand climate justice. Now.
It's time to stand as one to save our planet. Let's join hands to combat climate change today. Let's sing the climate song, not to fossil world. Let us see the green in Africa arise, because the future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. save our planet. Let's join hands to combat climate change today. Let's sing that climate song, not too fossil fuel. Let us see the green in Africa arise, because the future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. This land belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. Oh, 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 let us fight for climate change. Oh, 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 let us make Africa green.
When you ask me what climate justice is, I would answer a million actions to change the status quo, to tell the oil industry, say, oh no, 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 oh no, 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 to save our soul, take responsibility, demand accountability, accept all the reality. Oh no, 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 oh no, no, no. Plant trees, no plastics, coal, no paper, petrol from the North Pole. Let's gather, let us hold the superpower. Hold government accountable. Invest in agriculture, clean the space. Spark conversations, tell the story of how we're dying. One plastic bag at a time. When you ask me what climate justice is, I would answer, it's you and me, creating a better future. Oh, na 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 na.
The future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. This land belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. Oh, 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 let us fight for climate change. Oh, 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 let us make Africa green.
Na 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 na
For
na.
the future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. This land belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. Oh, 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 let us fight for climate change. Oh, 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 let us make Africa green.
When you ask me what climate change is, I would answer, it took one decision back then when the Industrial Revolution ruled the day. They called it the Great Evolution, the solution to transportation, communication, the hope for an advanced civilization. When you ask me what climate change is, I would answer, it was one decision to power the machines, to drill the fossil, to squeeze the very life out of the womb of the earth. One decision to have faster cars, faster trains, so much money, plenty gain. To clear the forest, to burn the trees, more power, more coal, more paper, more plastic. Higher scrapers, even higher towers. Busy cities, meaningless treaties, and zero social duty. When you ask me what climate change is, I would answer 1,000 implications, just to name a few. Melting ice and heavy rains, terrible floods and hurricanes, hunger, wars and water crisis, cornfields turn popcorn, humans baking in the sun, withered plants, unbearable heat waves, epidemics, violence, extinction, death. When you ask me what climate justice is, I would answer again and again and again. It's taking action. It's you, it's me. It's demanding that rich countries pay their climate debt. It's changing the systems, ending fossil fuels, saying no to the collateral damage that happens when we put profits over the planet. The sea levels are rising, and so must we in solidarity. It's our responsibility. Let's take action now.
The future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. The land belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. The future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. This land belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. Let us strive for climate change. Let us make Africa green.
When you ask me what climate change is, I would answer. It took one decision back then when the Industrial Revolution ruled the day. They called it the Great Evolution, the solution to transportation, communication, the hope for an advanced civilization. When you ask me what climate change is, I would answer. It was one decision to power the machines, to drill the fossil, to squeeze the very life out of the womb of the earth. One decision to have faster cars, faster trains, so much money, plenty gain. To clear the forest, to burn the trees, more power, more coal, more paper, more plastic. Higher scrapers, even higher towers, busy cities, meaningless treaties, and zero social duty. When you ask me what climate change is, I would answer 1,000 implications, just to name a few. Melting ice and heavy rains, terrible floods and hurricanes, hunger, wars and water crisis, cornfields turn popcorn, humans baking in the sun, withered plants, unbearable heat waves, epidemics, violence, extinction, death. When you ask me what climate justice is, I'll answer again and again and again. It's taking action. It's you, it's me. It's demanding that rich countries pay their climate debt. It's changing the systems, ending fossil fuels, saying no to the collateral damage that happens when we put profits over the planet. The sea levels are rising, and so must we in solidarity. It's our responsibility. Let's take action now.
The future belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. The land belongs to us. Let's defend it with all we have. Let us try
to have the next session. So we have lobbying, negotiation, and partnerships. And we're going to start with lobbying. Do it. I'm going to ask you. So yeah, that's just by the way. What do you understand by lobbying, or what is lobbying for you? All right. Who's going to bail me out here? Lobbying. Mhm. Interesting. That is a very, how do I put it? Illustrative, example that you've given, and I think what lobbying is. But I'm curious. I want to know what other people think about it. Yeah. Think. Okay, so lobbying has to do with influencing or attempting to influence a particular action or non-action. Okay, and like Daniel was giving us an example of, and you try to convince someone to look at it in a different direction or look at it from a different perspective, something different about it. And yeah, we apply lobbying to in activism or in advocacy because it's important to always win people towards your side, right? Trying to influence someone's decision on a particular is a way of bringing them on board with what we are doing. For example, if you have a duty bearer in your community and you're trying to win someone perhaps in the the leadership, then you can try and convince the person to buy into your idea so that he or she can support whatever it is that you are doing. And if the person is perhaps a policymaker, then they can go a long way into influencing some of the policies that you want to be implemented or you want to be. So can we also give some examples of how we can use advocacy or in campaigning? But of course, you can let me know if the whole definition for lobbying is not very clear for you so that we can go over it again. What it is, kindly think about an example of how we can use lobbying in advocacy or in campaign. Am I communicating to myself over here? Hello? Right, that's very true. Let me just stop this for a while and let's check in and see if we're all present. Let me know if you are here.
Yeah.
I see you, Momo.
I'm here.
Robert, I see you too, brother. Makosi, are you with us? Moro, are you with us?
Yes, please.
Okay. Daniel, I think this is a learning point for us. We can do the break differently next time, maybe. But yes, Moro, Robert, and Momo, we are happy to have you back with us again and understand that our time is so up, almost up. But it's important that we just finish up the discussions that we were doing for this morning so that we won't have to perhaps move it to the next session, which will essentially disrupt the whole training. So if you would bear with us, we could just use some 5 to 10 more minutes to just finish up this discussion on the three things that I mentioned: lobbying, negotiation, and partnerships. A wrap for the morning. And I was saying that lobbying is essentially just trying to win someone over, so trying to influencing or attempting to influence their decision or their action on a particular thing. And then I used an example of having like a duty bearer in your community. Activists try to, let them buy into your idea so that when they go into their decision-making spaces, they can actually be an advocate for your cause and try to influence certain decisions that will help your cause, or perhaps enforce them in a way. Then I asked a question if we can also think about other examples of how we can use lobbying in our campaigns or in our advocacy that we do. So if you have any thoughts on that, you could just mention it and then we can move forward. Anyone? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so another example could also be that perhaps you are a youth group in a community that is fighting for, let's say, climate justice, and there are other youth groups in your community who are not necessarily interested in climate justice. So could be that you as a community movement that's working on climate change can actually go and try to influence the other people, to be interested in issues of climate justice, so that you can have like a wider network that can campaign for issues of climate justice. That could be another example of lobbying. So what about negotiation? Negotiation. What do we know about negotiation, or what do we think about negotiation? I think I should share my screen. Welcome back, Christopher.
Thank
we
you.
Missed you.
I missed you too.
I see you too.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are just joining the discussion, we were talking about negotiation and partnerships, and we already established that lobbying is the act of trying to influence someone's thoughts or decisions towards a particular thing. And we also went ahead to give examples of how we can use lobbying in our advocacy and in our campaigns. And we mentioned the fact that you can actually go to duty bearers who have like a potential support by way of ensuring that they champion your cause in their decision-making spaces. So an example could be that you have like a policymaker who is responsible for making policies and enforcing policies in the community, and you go to them with your cause and you try to let them understand the reasons why you are. And if perhaps they buy into the idea, then when they are in the decision-making spaces, they can actually, influence or come up with some of the policies that you need to help, fight the issues that your movement or your organization is fighting for. And then we're moving to negotiation. So we asked that, what is negotiation, or what does negotiation means to you as an individual. So what is negotiation? Then people tend to give you dictionary definitions of what negotiation is. But it's interesting to know what people actually think about the term themselves as individuals rather than what maybe some books say.
Oh, negotiate.
Yeah.
Negotiate. Maybe I can add my definition. It is for example is to find a better if the I can just okay in short I can just say is to find negotiations is to find a better term which is suitable to both parties. For example, I can look at if if I'm a duty bearer, there is negotiating that the policies which you have made they are not recognizing the people's maybe they are not recognizing the needs of the people. I mean to negotiate with them that okay, you reduce maybe from that to that, bring it somewhere there so that also we are able to participate in that. Because if you put it, or maybe you put a ceiling which is too high on my hands when I lift it up, catch that. But when you bring it a bit down, I'll be able to catch that. Then I'm negotiating. That's how I understand negotiating with it.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing. Yes, and I really did like the point you mentioned that it gets to a point where everybody gets to enjoy, right? Both parties are all going to have like some sort of a fair share of the profits that's going to come out of the whole thing. And yeah, that's what negotiation is. We can also try to explore how we can negotiate, just like my brother mentioned, how we can negotiate with some of the duty bearers, especially with some of the policies that we have that are perhaps not doing enough or perhaps not favoring the communities that we live in. We could actually employ these two points, that is lobbying and negotiation, in our advocacy and our campaigns. Does it any thoughts on the negotiation or perhaps any example that they can give with regards to negotiation before we move to partnership? Uh-huh. Going once, twice. Okay, so yes, one thing that we always need to keep in mind is that when it comes to negotiation, it's supposed to be a win-win situation and not a win-lose situation. And the importance of this is that when you present it that way, where the other party sees that, well, this is not going to be detrimental to maybe my beliefs or to maybe the way I do things, but rather going to complement, and there are high chances that they will buy into your idea. The very last thing to discuss for today, partnerships. What do we understand by partnerships?
Is coming together. A partnership is coming together with a common understanding. Maybe we want to fight a similar cause. We can say, okay, we partner so that we end brutality which is happening in our countries. So let's say Ghana and Zambia should partner to end or to fight against human, maybe we can say to fight against injustice which is happening in our. Then it's either the youth or it can be two parties, two individuals come together it can be two organizations coming together. That's what I understand about partnership.
That's true. That's very true. I think I think you is all about. So can we maybe share our experiences? And like I mentioned before when we are starting this whole program, that we are very much interested in some of the experiences that we've all had as advocates, as activists, and as artists and creative people. So I just want to know from your point of view or from your own experiences, how have you partnered with people to do a particular thing, and how was the whole experience like for you? I don't know if my question is clear,
Yeah.
but I just want to, yeah, of course. I just want to know what your experiences are when it comes to partnerships. So some examples maybe could help.
I remember way back where when we were students in the institutions, so there was a hike in fees by the institutions of higher learning. That was in 2016. Then as the student union, I was part of the student union as well. So we said, no, student union from all the universities should come together so that we champion for a reduction of fees. That partnership, it was a good partnership because we were fighting for the cause which was affecting everybody. But we said even those students who feel that they are comfortable, they are in private institutions where they are able to pay on their own. But we said, let's come together. Tomorrow you can have relatives who are unable to pay. Fighting for them. Even in future we'll set a precedent. Then what happened? We won that battle because we were working together as partners. So the minister came in and said, okay, let all the people write exams whether they have paid, and let's not the tuition fees be hiked. And through partnership with other institutions of higher learning, that's the student unions.
Right, right. Thank you very much for sharing that. Any other? Can we have one more, maybe? Anyone? Okay. When we look at lobbying and negotiation, if you do these two things right, it can actually help you to build partnerships. And I can remember we've mentioned time and again that it's important to build bigger networks or wider networks that can help us to fight for a cause. And when you do lobbying right, you can have people empathizing with you and standing in solidarity with what your beliefs are and what you are doing. They can, in a way, support you. And if you're able to also present your information to other people in a way that they see that it's actually a win-win situation rather than a win and lose situation, actually buy into your ideas. And by so doing, you can build more partnerships and build a wider network of people who will help you fight for the cause that you need. So this is actually all that we have for today. And I just want to sort of like give us a review of what we have done throughout this morning's session. And we started by talking about the human rights-based approach to development. And for us to understand that, we first of all explored what human rights are, the fact that there are entitlements that we are supposed to enjoy by virtue of the fact that we are human beings. And it doesn't matter where we come from in the world, what our sex, nationality, ethnic origin, color, or religion is. But we are supposed to enjoy the human rights. And we've also talked about the history of development in ActionAid, understand the differences between the human rights-based approach to development to approach. And we looked at the fact that human rights ActionAid used to do the needs-based approach where they provide the needs of the communities for them, into empowerment, where they rather teach the people how to get their own needs. What they are doing is the human rights-based approach, which means that basically they tackle every issue as a way or as a means of like a human rights issue. So it means that all issues that are affecting our community today is as a result of the fact that certain basic needs are not being provided for us in our communities and in our countries. Look at the fact that you as an individual to hold your duty bearers accountable if you are just one person, but then if you are in a group of people, then there are high chances that the duty bearer might listen to you and provide the needs that you need. Also look at the human rights-based approach as a way of, in a cyclical form, where the duty bearers are to the right holders, and the right holders are to what demand their response from the duty bearers. And we've also talked about the 3 pillars of human rights-based approach, which is empowerment, solidarity, and campaigns. Explore all these 3 terms and explain what they meant and how we can actually achieve this. The last thing we've talked about is the lobbying, negotiation, and partnerships, and have for today on the human rights-based approach session this morning. If you have any questions or concerns or any comments on this, you can give it now as we are about to close the whole session. Anyone? Okay, I take it that we don't have any questions or concerns. I would like to say a very big thank you to each and every one of you for being part of the session, massive contributions to the session, and with all your experiences and insights that actually made this session very lively for that. And I invite you to keep same energy with the rest of the sessions that we have. And I promise you that we have very, very interesting sessions in the future for you. Today, tomorrow, and on Saturday. So please stay tuned with us until the very end. And I promise you, you are going to learn a lot from us and from all the other participants that we have in this workshop. Daniel, do you have anything to add before we close for today, for this morning?
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, like for us people in Zambia, it will be at 16:30 because we are 2 hours ahead of you. That's it. So no wonder at first we had challenges. We thought the 9:30 equivalent
Yeah, thank you so much. Because even me, I kept on asking, I think in the email, thinking the meeting had already started at 9, but I was actually very early for it.
Okay.
Before you go, so we have Zambia and Ghana, we have 2 hours time difference.
Yes,
So meaning for us here it's 4 p.m.
exactly.
We're doing at 4 p.m., right?
4:30 p.m. Yes,
4:50 p.m. Okay.
yes. Thank you too, bro.
Sorry, I just want to ask a question.
Sure.
Yes, I joined in late after the break, so I just found of being negotiating partnership. Is it going in the next
Right.
session or you already tackled it?